Severe weather warnings across multiple states, gusty winds, temperature swings, thunderstorms in the east, dry, windy conditions raising fire concerns in Victoria. That is the weather situation across Australia over the next week. I've examined the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, compared the Access and European models, and there is broad agreement on what is coming. Let me break down what you need to know. Right now, conditions across the country are showing massive contrasts. Up in Brisbane, it's been hot and humid all week, 38 degrees with sticky conditions. That warm, moist air mass has been sitting over southeast Queensland for days. Meanwhile, down in Tasmania, overnight temperatures dropped to -2 in some areas. Frost across the northern suburbs of Hobart this morning. That cold Antarctic air is already well established in the south. The temperature spread across the continent is about 23 degrees. That is significant, and it tells us something important about the weather pattern developing. Here is what is driving all this. We've got lower air pressure across most of the continent, that purple zone you see on the synoptic charts covering the top 2/3 of Australia. Low pressure generally means lighter winds for most places, but it also creates instability. That is why we're seeing thunderstorms and showers across the tropical regions. But down in the southeast, the situation is different. High pressure is positioned south of Tasmania and South Australia. That high is dredging up a southeasterly wind along the southern coastline. Between that widespread low pressure over the continent and the high pressure to the south, we get what is called a squash zone. The isobars, those white lines on the pressure map, get compressed together. When you see isobars squashed together like that, it means stronger winds. Simple physics. The tighter the gradient, the gustier the conditions. And that is exactly what is happening across Victoria, the ACT, and parts of New South Wales. Gusty conditions through the mountains, along the Great Dividing Range, and particularly around the Victorian Alps. We're not talking about severe gales across the board, but gusts could reach gale force in exposed locations, 40 to 60 kilometres per hour sustained, with gusts potentially hitting 80 to 90 k's in the ranges. Now, if you're in Victoria, that combination of gusty winds and mostly dry weather is a concern. Fire danger ratings are elevated. It is not catastrophic, but it is worth paying attention to. Check the Country Fire Authority website for your local fire danger rating. Know your fire plan. If you live in a bushfire-prone area, now is the time to make sure your property is prepared. Let's talk about what is happening with the remnants of that tropical system. The ex-tropical cyclone has been producing thunderstorms and heavy rain along the Queensland coastline and pushing inland. Not widespread severe storms at the moment, but that changes as we go through today and tomorrow. The heat and moisture are coming together. That is the recipe for thunderstorm development. Through central and southern Queensland, we're seeing rainfall totals that could reach 60 to 70 millimetres in just 24 hours. Some isolated areas could cop 100 to 150 millimetres if a severe storm parks over you. Up around Gladstone and Calliope, there has been significant rain overnight, 79 millimetres in some gauges. The Calliope River is at moderate flood levels. That is good news for the water storages, but if you near that river system, monitor the bomb flood warnings closely. For most of Queensland, this rain is welcome. After months of dry conditions in some western areas, finally seeing decent falls. But it's patchy. Some areas are getting flooded, others are still waiting. Wednesday's forecast shows that wind pattern continuing. The isobars remain squashed together across the southeast. Gusty conditions through the ACT, the Snowy Mountains and across Victoria. A southeasterly wind for the most part. We've got a few thunderstorms pushing into New South Wales. A couple of showers possible around Victoria and Tasmania, but most of the significant weather is up in Queensland. That S where the energy is. Widespread thunderstorms, heavy downpours and the potential for localised flash flooding. By Thursday, the wind actually picks up. Thursday is a particularly gusty day around Victoria and South Australia. Again, southeasterly winds. Gusts might reach gale force during the afternoon in exposed spots. Now, this isn't a widespread damaging winds. It's blustery conditions. If you've got loose items around the property, secure them. If you're retowing a caravan or driving a high-sided vehicle, be aware that crosswinds could be strong through the ranges. The concern on Thursday is that we've still got mostly dry weather around Victoria and South Australia combined with those gusty winds. Not a good combination when fire danger is already elevated. There are some showers in the forecast, but when you look at the rainfall totals, we're talking about the pale blue at the bottom of the scale. A few millimetres here and there, nothing substantial. The eastern and southeastern sides of Victoria might see slightly better falls, brushing into the ACT and southern New South Wales. Up around Queensland, heavier rain continues. 200 millimetres forecast in some central areas. That is not widespread, but if you were in the path of a slow-moving thunderstorm, that's what you could see. Thursday afternoon brings severe thunderstorms into the forecast. Around 2 p.m. Eastern Time, severe thunderstorms are possible across eastern Victoria, the ACT and New South Wales. Large hail, damaging wind gusts, the chance of flash flooding in localised areas. The far north of Queensland also has severe storm potential, though they are more isolated. The main severe weather risk is across the southeast corner. If you can get one of those storms to drop decent rain where it's dry, that is good news. But you don't want dry lightning. Lightning strikes without rain can start fires, and with elevated fire danger, that is a real concern. Moving into Friday, we've got a couple of low pressure systems worth monitoring in the Coral Sea around the Vanuatu area. Both of these are on the radar, but the one affecting Queensland is producing more significant rainfall. Some areas could see 150 millimetres in a day. That monsoon moisture is really ramping up across Queensland and pushing into northern New South Wales. Low pressure near the Queensland-New South Wales border means that squash zone intensifies again. Those isobars compress together. Strong winds, especially around the mountains, the Victorian Alps, the Great Dividing Range, the ACT area. Heaviest rain comes into the southeast corner, maybe 60 to 70 millimetres for some locations in just a day, but most places want to see that kind of rainfall. You are looking at 5 to 10 mils. Perth and the southwest have had a particularly dry run. 3 months with bugger all rain. Dams are down, gardens are struggling. That dry spell continues for now, though there are a few showers pushing through Western Australia later in the week. South Australia sits in between it all. Southeasterly winds, just a couple of coastal showers. Nothing significant. Sometimes you can get a thunderstorm pop up out of that kind of setup, but it's not the main story. Saturday still shows those two tropical lows off to the northeast. We're re-monitoring them closely. The main feature is the southeast corner of Australia. You've got this gusty easterly coming off the Tasman Sea. If you're on the coastline, temperatures want to be especially hot. Inland areas may be quite warm though. Even though that boundary between warm and cool air is north of you, the gusty winds coming over the Great Dividing Range can actually lift temperatures further inland. It's a phenomenon called F-hand warming. Air descends the lee side of the mountains, compresses and heats up. A few showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. Fingers crossed Victoria gets some rain. It's not a huge amount, but you might get a few bits of relief. High pressure just south of Tasmania is what is driving those gusty southeasterly winds. Could be some gusts around gale force again. Not very windy for the tropical areas, but the heat starts to move along. A southerly breeze comes in for Bunbury and Fremantle, Perth area. Temperatures drop a bit, but the heat pushes down around Esperance. By Sunday, that heat pushes further east into South Australia. We've still got winds blowing through New South Wales, the ACT, Victoria, parts of South Australia. That gusty easterly continues. The large low in the north is trying to work out if it's going to be one tropical cyclone or two separate low pressure zones. The modelling today shows it splitting apart. Yesterday, S-Runs had it as a single tropical cyclone. That S still potentially a cyclone just south of New Caledonia. The other system may also develop. These systems are so close together that when I update you next, they might have merged back into one low, or they might completely separate. That's why we can lock in what is happening around the Coral Sea just yet, but we're re-monitoring it closely. Those easterly winds continue into the southeast corner of Queensland all the way down through New South Wales. Basically, eastern parts of New South Wales want to be as hot. The airflow is coming off the sea rather than from inland. Wind direction is also important for smoke movement. The smoke from Victorian fires has been blowing off towards New Zealand. As the winds change direction, that smoke pushes over towards South Australia instead. Let's look at the rainfall expected over the next 7 days. This gives you an idea of what is coming. Queensland, all those thunderstorms really add up. Some areas seeing over 200 millimetres. Around the coastal areas of New South Wales could be 100 millimetres or more if you get a severe thunderstorm that sits over you. But look at this contrast. Just over from the ACT, on the other side of the ranges, it is completely dry. Southern areas around Wagga Wagga going into Victoria are much drier. I know Wagga and the Riverina have been brutal. You need rain. Unfortunately, this system isn't delivering it to you. Dry over the rest of Australia. Just a few showers through the Kimberley and the top end. A few downpours and thunderstorms, but really it's the eastern side of Australia seeing the most wet weather over the next week. Now, for those of you dealing with these temperature swings, I want to address something. Across the eastern states, you've been copping temperature whiplash, 30 degrees one day, 18 the next, then back up. People have been crook. Flu, headaches, sinus issues, it's been going around. That pattern should settle down after this week's changes move through. Not completely stable, but less extreme fluctuations. If you're in far north Queensland and dealing with the unusual cooler weather that is forecast later in the week, most Queenslanders don to have heavy winter gear, and fair enough, you done to usually need it. Layer up with what you've got. Multiple thin layers work better than trying to find a parka you done to own. For Victoria and South Australia, with the dry, gusty conditions and elevated fire danger, here is what you should be doing. Check your CFA or CFS website for local fire danger ratings. If it's a total fire ban day, that means no fires whatsoever, not just no campfires, no machinery that could throw sparks, no welding, no grinders. Follow the restrictions. If you are in a bushfire-prone area, make sure your property is as prepared as it can be. Clear gutters, move flammable material away from the house, know your fire plan. Leaving early is always the safest option. Don T, wait and see. If conditions are bad, get out before it starts. Check on elderly neighbours and mates. This weather can be tough on people, especially those with respiratory conditions or heart problems. High winds, smoke, temperature changes, all of it puts stress on the body. For those with livestock, make sure they've got shelter and water. Gusty winds can knock over temporary structures, secure anything that could blow away and injure animals or damage property. If you're re-travelling through the ranges, particularly the Great Dividing Range or the Victorian Alps, be aware of those crosswinds. High-sided vehicles, caravans, camper vans, they're all susceptible to being pushed around by strong gusts. If you're re-heading to Queensland and you're in an area forecast for severe thunderstorms, have a plan. Flash flooding can happen quickly. Never drive through floodwater. If it's flooded, forget it. That's the SES slogan, and it is spot on. You can just see what S under the water. The road might be washed away. The current might be stronger than you think. Looking at the broader pattern, what we are seeing is a classic spring to summer transition pattern. The polar air masses are still strong enough to push north, but the tropical systems are also active. When those two air masses clash, you get this kind of active weather. The jet stream is positioned right across the southern part of the continent, that EA is steering these systems. It is also why we're re-seeing that temperature contrast and those gusty winds in the squash zones. Over the next few weeks, as we head deeper into summer, we'd expect the tropical activity to increase. The monsoon trough should become better established. That means more widespread rainfall across northern Australia. But for now, it's this transitional pattern, active, changeable, and requiring attention. One more thing worth mentioning. The models have been reasonably consistent on the broad pattern. Where they differ is on the specifics. Exactly where those thunderstorms set up, the precise track of those lows in the Coral Sea, the timing of frontal systems moving through Western Australia. That's normal. Models are tools. They give us guidance, but you've got to interpret them in context. Look at multiple models. Understand their strengths and weaknesses. The Access model, developed by the Bureau of Meteorology, is excellent for Australian conditions. The European model often handles larger scale patterns well. The GFS is useful for medium-range forecasting. When they agree, confidence is high. When they disagree, that S when you need to be cautious and keep monitoring updates. For the southeast, the consistent message from all models is gusty winds, temperature variability, and limited rainfall. That's locked in. For the tropical regions, heavy rainfall is coming. The question is exactly where the heaviest falls occur. That depends on where those thunderstorms develop and how they track. So, to sum up the week ahead, gusty winds across the southeast, particularly Victoria, the ACT, southern New South Wales, elevated fire danger in Victoria and South Australia due to dry, windy conditions, severe thunderstorms possible Thursday across the southeast with large hail and flash flooding risks. Heavy rain continuing across Queensland, particularly central and southern areas. Some locations could see over 150 millimetres, flash flooding possible. 2 tropical lows developing in the Coral Sea, still uncertain if they'll merge or remain separate. Monitoring closely. Western Australia staying mostly dry with just a few showers. That dry pattern continues for now. Temperature contrasts across the country. Hot and humid in the tropics. Cooler in the south. Those contrasts drive the weather patterns we're re-seeing. This is an active weather week, not panic-worthy, but definitely worth paying attention to. Check the Bureau of Meteorology website regularly. Monitor warnings for your local area. Have your emergency plans ready, whether that is for bushfire, thunderstorms, or flooding. Look after yourselves. Look after your mates. And if conditions are bad in your area, don't take unnecessary risks. That's the forecast.